Joining us for this Living Healthy Together webinar. I'm your host, Shelby Nordhagen, and I'm the founder of the Living Healthy Together online community. It's a place where real, everyday women can just tell it like it is, and we support one another when it comes to all things related to health and happiness. So thanks so much for riding along with us today on this webinar. Before we get started, you'll notice that we're using GoToWebinar as a technology platform to run this event. So I'd like to call your attention to a couple of the tools that you'll see on your GoToWebinar screen. First, you'll see the Grab tab. This is the orange arrow that appears in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You can click on this orange arrow to either minimize or maximize the GoToWebinar control panel. So to better view the full screen so you can see all of the slides, you can minimize that control panel. But when you want to type in a question for us, you'll want to click on that orange arrow again so that you can see the question area. We will hold a question-answer session with our speaker after the presentation, so type in your questions in that white box where you see the words "Enter a question." Simply enter your question and then hit the Send button, and we'll gather up all those questions that you've typed in and we'll direct them to the speaker at the end of the session. So please enter in your questions as they come to you throughout the course of the session. Now, if you have any technical difficulties at all with the GoToWebinar system, please feel free to call GoToWebinar Tech Support at 1-800-263-6317 and then press option number 2. And finally, if for some crazy reason our GoToWebinar connection should fail, I mean, it is technology, it could happen, but knock on wood. If that happens, we'll immediately send you an email with an alternate call-in address and login. So just also a note, tomorrow you will receive a link to the recorded webinar and a link to download the slides. So watch for that in your email inbox and feel free to share it with your friends. With all of that said, it gives me great pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Sherilyn DeVries. Sherilyn's awesome sense of humor is definitely going to brighten your day. It always does mine, and I'm sure she's going to have you laughing out loud. So you know when I said that Living Healthy Together is all about real women telling it like it is? Well, that's Sherilyn to a T. I'll let Sherilyn tell you about herself, but I definitely encourage you to follow her for daily doses of fun on her blog at bikebliss.com and on her Bike Bliss Facebook page. So take it away, Sherilyn.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up today. I'm really grateful and excited that you are here. I want to give a big round of applause to Shelby, with whom I could not be doing this, but she is, as you can hear, professional. She's got everything together and going on. And so there's no way I could run this webinar without her. She is going to make me look fantastic, so thank you to Shelby. And we are going to get rolling here as soon as I can. Let's see, something just, oh, here we go. All right, sorry, I'm having the technology problems, definitely not Shelby. All right, so we're talking today about exercise. I have been hitting around ideas about what's going wrong with ideas about exercise in our culture and so on for a while, and while that sounds really heavy, I think I've come to some pretty fun and subversive and irreverent conclusions. And so I'm going to take you on a little ride today. So the foundation here that we want to be working with when it comes to exercise is different. Usually, when we talk about exercise, it's all about performance and achievement and all those wonderful words that make us feel guilty or make exercise feel like just another one of those places where we need to perform and be good and work harder. And so today we're going to be taking a bunch of those assumptions that we don't even really question off the table and just set them to the side. They're not bad, they're not wrong. It's just that if you're here, you probably have found that they aren't working well for you, so we're setting these aside. We're setting aside the usual definition of exercise. We're going to dump the idea of willpower and discipline because, anyway, they're just not pleasant. They're not fun. We're going to drop the idea of resolutions and goals. Usually people use those to say, oh, if you make a resolution or you make a goal, that will bring you along and that will force you to to be better and to have achievements, or wonderful achievements. And we're just going to set those aside. We're going to rethink the way we use results to motivate ourselves. And we're going to look at some stories that we tell ourselves that end up sabotaging us in the end. And we're going to, again, set them to the side. Sorry, I'm trying to advance my slides here. So it's working so well in
Hey, Sherilyn, can you just click the down arrow?
That's what I'm doing with my laptop, and it's not working.
So click on the slide and then hit the down arrow.
There we are. Thank you, Shelby.
No problem.
Who's the newbie? You can tell. All right. So what this is going to be about is the irony here is that here I am, someone telling you, hey, let's not listen to the other experts, listen to me. And believe me, the irony is not lost. So, but what I'm handing you is not more advice. I'm handing you big permission slips. And so with these permission slips, there are no shoulds or musts. I'm not telling you you have to think a certain way, that you must do certain things. If you hear me say something and you really have a negative reaction to it somehow, you are free to think that I'm batshit crazy and say, not for me, not doing that. That's totally cool, and I fully respect that. And I'll be telling you some stories about me and my experiences, but those are just examples, not instructions for you. You don't need to do it my way. I'm just hoping to help you.
Shelby.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We're still on slide 4.
Okay. I'm on slide 5, and now I'm on 6.
Okay. Let me change back to my screen, and then, oh, there we go. Now we're on your slide.
Are we good now? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
Sorry
everybody, for no. Thanks, everyone, for working with me. And so I'm just here to help you build your own stories and to find your own way with this, not just feel like you need to follow somebody else's plan and path to happiness, because that just isn't the way it works. So here I am. This is my beautiful family. These are my 3 boys and my gorgeous husband. And we are in Glacier National Park, which is just 40 minutes from my front door. And this is a hike we took over the summer where we hiked to this gorgeous hidden lake called Iceberg Lake. And it's one of those things experiences that I didn't think that I would be doing. I'm not an athlete. I never have been. I'm not someone who did a lot of sports growing up. There are no pictures of me playing basketball or softball or soccer or anything like that. I was a shy kid and a musician, but doing little things, little workouts, and building momentum has led me to be able to do things like this with my family and have these great experiences. So like I said, I wasn't an athlete. This is me in preschool, slide number 7. Athletics was just not prized in my family. I have an older sister who did some, but it wasn't really encouraged or anything like that. Music was, and so that's what I did. I wasn't terribly, isn't that great, that lovely picture of me there? I just kind of went along and did my own thing, was bookish, read a lot, and got married, had children, and in 2008, my husband and I decided we were going to go to Hawaii in 2009. And when you're in a swimsuit for a whole week, looking at your body that's been covered over layers of clothes in a cold climate like Montana, it kind of gets your attention. You're white and, well, at least I was, white and flabby. And so it kind of, and I also wasn't feeling great. I was in a mental fog most of the time, home with my boys all day and kind of getting through the days and going up sizes and not feeling fantastic, and I didn't know what to do. And then I got these pictures. I don't think my husband meant for this to be a wake-up call for me. He was just taking a picture with me and one of my sons ready to dive in and snorkel. But it kind of made me think, you know, I can see which way this is trending, and I really don't want to be there. So I started on the typical adventure that most people do when they want to lose weight. I started running. And so in March of 2009, I ran my first race. I ran a 10K because there wasn't a 5K available, and I'm crazy like that. But it was a great experience in the sense that I'd never run probably more than a mile or 2 before that in my life. And I showed myself I could do something different. So then that whole summer I got inspired and I started running more races, here's me running across that first race, the finish line with my boys, all three of them. And that time, 1:09:29 up there, that is a really slow time for a 10K, you guys, so don't get impressed. And so that whole summer, I kept running more races and getting faster and really enjoying myself and doing this new thing I'd never done before, and then I got injured. And I thought, oh, crap. You know, I'd lost 20 pounds, and I was feeling great and feeling strong, and I thought, oh, no, what am I going to do? I don't want to go backwards, and I started to fall into fear and thinking, you know, I'm supposed to be increasing all my workouts. What am I going to do? And then one of my friends said, you know, Sherilyn, why don't you try biking? Her family was big into biking. And I thought, well, okay, I have a bike. This is my 20-year-old bike. And I thought, okay, I could do that. And when I hopped on, I had this feeling like I was a little kid again. It was freedom. It was gentle movement. I was gliding. The wind was going through my hair, and it just felt so fantastic. And I caught the biking bug. So even to the point of, as you can see in this photo, I am biking in winter because I decided that that's what I should do because I loved biking that much. So like I said, the 20 pounds came off, and it stayed off, and I decided to, because I'm a writer, my background is writing and editing, I decided that I would start a blog to help try to encourage other women to do just basic real-life exercise without a lot of fuss, without making it a part-time job, without making it a big thing, you know, because we're all busy and we've all got other things that we'd like to do, but yet we all really want to look good naked. You know, it's true. So one thing that I found when I was figuring out how to come around from this place, like what changed me? What changed me from being this, I'm not an athlete, I can't do this, to craving workouts, which is what I did. I went from like pulling the covers over my head and trying to sleep for 15 more minutes to opening my eyes in the morning and going, oh, I could go out for a walk. I could get in a 10, 15-minute run. Oh, I could hop on my bike for 20 minutes. And trust me, you guys, I'm the kind of girl who loves curling up by the fire with a quilt and tea and a book. So this is like, I thought I was possessed. But when I stopped and started thinking about it, like what changed? So I was there. This is what I had been hoping for, actually, like, oh, I don't have to fight myself for workouts finally. And what happened is I had started to think differently about exercise. One of the unchallenged beliefs I think we all have about exercise is it's this sort of thing we do to ourselves, we have to do in order to stay healthy so we don't get sick, so we don't get fat. So it's all very fear-based. And we have to use force to make ourselves do it because it's unpleasant. Reminds me of my husband who hated peas, but his mom forced him to eat them, so he would pop them in his mouth like pills and then swallow them like with water or milk or something like that, just so he didn't have to taste them. Is that we do that sort of thing with exercise. We hold our nose and we do it, and then, oh my gosh, then we pat ourselves on the back for having the willpower and discipline to get through this unpleasant task. Well, what if it wasn't unpleasant? What if we could redefine exercise? What if we redefined it as this place where you could connect with your body? You could, instead of feeling like it was this big, exhausting, sweaty endeavor, it was a place where you could feel strong and you could walk away feeling energized, and you could see yourself being strong. Maybe not being an Olympic athlete, but being strong for you and silencing in all those inner critics that tried to tell you you weren't good enough and you couldn't, because look, you're already doing it. Now, one of those things that I think leads us to that place where we're allowed to redefine exercise is rethinking results. The current wisdom in exercise is that you should set yourself a goal. I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to run a faster time. I want to get into a smaller dress size. And while that's great and that can work beautifully for some people, and that's fantastic. The problem is that the results are always out there. You're not quite there yet. And it's hard sometimes to be patient. It's hard sometimes to wait. And in that gap, it's easy to get down on yourself and to feel guilty and feel shame. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's just so not worth it, you guys. The time and energy we waste on that stuff, I mean, give me a break. So what I discovered is that the reason I was loving my workouts is that in that moment when I was actually exercising, I was feeling great. Now, a lot of times that doesn't happen on a treadmill or on a weight machine. For some people it does. Awesome. And so when I hit a plateau and the weight wasn't peeling off like I wanted, I learned, and I'm still learning, trust me, to swap my results. Instead of, gee, did I lose a pound, and coming to the scale to prove to me whether or not I was good or I was bad, I should swap that for, gee, did I get outside and did I spend time with the dog? Did I get to see the sun on her ears? Did I get to see the sun come up or the light hitting the mountains today? Did I get to feel the power in my legs as I either did a really slow run or I walked? Did I get to feel the warmth of my child's hand as I was walking with him? Did I get to hear my kids laugh like I did yesterday, and whine, both, as we were cross-country skiing? Those are the kinds of things. There's no heart rate monitor to look at. There's no stopwatch. It's just feeling the power of your own body. And so this is me at the top of Logan Pass Glacier National Park, where I biked to the top. And while that sounds Iron Woman, I'm still kind of in disbelief that it actually happened, but that story's coming. So my permission slip to you is to dump the idea that results, you have to be chasing results, and that you can feel fantastic about going out and doing anything right now. And this photo just basically captures the feeling that I have on a bike with, whee, you know, the skirt blowing and beautiful, being out in the beautiful outdoors. I just love it. And here's another place of power for me with exercise. I get to connect with my children, and I get to connect with my own body. And this kind of pleasure, feeling this kind of pleasure and enjoying walking or biking or doing whatever you love, creates its own momentum. You know, if you keep loving it, you are going to keep doing it, and it's going to act like a tractor beam for you. You're not going to have to force yourself. You're not going to have to use all those great tips and tricks that you usually find on fitness magazines where it's like, lay out your workout clothes the night before, or get a pal to go with you so that you make sure you get your workout in and don't procrastinate. You'll just be looking forward to it, and you'll find 10 or 15 minutes here or 4 minutes here. And instead of having to make yourself conform to some external plan for what you should be doing, you'll be doing your own thing. Which, to sum up, momentum bitch slaps willpower. That's all I got to say about it. And there was no way I realized that when I was starting, because I always had the same assumptions as everybody else. So you don't need to pat yourself on the back for willpower when you've got momentum carrying you along. This is a picture of me at the top of Logan Pass again. And biking up to the top of Logan Pass was a goal for me in a way that last summer when I did it, I had thought, okay, I need to lay in a training plan, and I need to ride X miles, and I need to do intervals and ride hills in order for me to do this big thing. Well, what ended up happening is we ended up camping in June, totally impromptu camping trip. My husband called me Thursday from work, and he's like, hey, I think I can get out of work early on Friday. Can you pack up the kids and the stuff and get us a campsite? Okay. And we brought the bikes, my husband and I, or at least I thought I was just going to get a little bike ride in or something like that. We woke up the next morning. He's like, hey, you know, how about if I drop you off at the loop? Here's a map of the Going to the Sun Road in Glacier, which is just heart-stoppingly beautiful. I'm going to drop you off at the loop, if you can see me pointing here. And you can bike all the way up to Logan Pass. Now, you can't really see, the elevation gain here. And it's not that it's horrible. I mean, cars go on it. It's not like it's, vertical or anything like that. But it's not a walk in the park. But it is stunningly beautiful. And so there I was without any plan, without any sort of preparation, basically, except just the general biking that I'd been doing, which was nothing serious. And on a beautiful, gorgeous summer morning, biking up the Going to the Sun Road. It was a spiritual experience for me, and I was like half sobbing the entire time because it was so gorgeous. And got to see a mountain goat there that was right off the side of the road. And here I am, some random strangers, like I stopped to kind of catch my breath, and there were some people stopped because there was construction, and so they took a picture of me. And so now I have this picture of, beautiful memory of doing that. I was just amazed that I was actually doing it. And it was so beautiful because people were honking encouragement to me as I was going by and stuff like that. And it was amazing. I never thought I would be one of these people who did something like that. That was for other people. And here I was. Momentum had just carried me along, and ta-da, here I was. Now, in order for me to do this, I had to dump some of my old stories that I told myself about what I could do and what I couldn't do, what I should do. And so I guess what I want to toss out to you guys, and you don't need to answer right now, but if you have a piece of paper, maybe while I'm talking, you can kind of write down to think about this. But what are some of the stories you tell yourself that you've convinced yourself that you can't do? I told myself I wasn't an athlete. And we tell ourselves dozens of stories like this every day. We tell ourselves, we're not thin enough, we're not smart enough, we're not rich enough, we didn't go to the right school, our parents aren't connected to the right people, all these different stories we tell ourselves. And so as far as exercise went, for years I didn't even touch it and I didn't do it because I'm not an athlete. I'm just not. I'm a mom. And this is an old picture about 5 years ago, and we were living in Bozeman, Montana, and my beautiful, goofy boys. And, I looked like I was active, and we did some hiking and things like that. But, I wasn't doing regular workouts or anything like that. I was hanging out, taking care of my boys. I didn't feel like I had the right to do workouts and so on because my priority was being a mom. And, it was actually my husband who was the athlete. He's been running since he was in 5th grade and grew up in South Dakota, and he was one of the top runners his age. He went to state. He won lots of awards. He's run the Boston Marathon. He's run the Hartford Marathon in Connecticut. He's run several marathons. He's done a bunch of triathletes. And he's also one of these guys where someone says, hey, do you want to go hike to the top of this mountain? Or do you want to go on this, overnight winter camping trip? And he's like, oh, sure. And he does it. And then he comes home the next day, and he's not cashed. He's not thrashed. He, cleans out the garage or makes supper or something like that. And so I told myself for years, I just couldn't keep up with him because I wasn't a runner. I wasn't as fast. I was just going to hold him back. I wasn't good enough. And then also, I lived in Bozeman, and it was easy for me to say, I'm not an athlete because so many people were amazing athletes in Bozeman. This is a picture of Nikki Kimball, who is an ultra marathoner. Now, this wouldn't be a big deal, except that Nikki Kimball runs the trails where people walk their dogs in Bozeman. I mean, literally, my husband and I ran into her on the trail. That's right in town, Pete's Hill, if you're in Bozeman, if you know that one, and, had a chat with her. And so, after running into that, who the hell am I to even think that I should start a 5K when you've got people like this running around town? Same thing with Conrad Anker, one of the world's best mountaineers. He discovered George Mallory's body on the top of Everest several years back. Has done Everest a few times. I ran into him at the climbing gym where my kids were taking lessons. Come on, as if I'm supposed to get into climbing when I could run into Conrad Anker at any time. And then this is Stuart Mitchell. Again, good friend, ran into him in the farmer's market, funny, wonderful guy. He was the American Cycling Association's 2009 downhill mountain biking champion. These are just normal people through town. And so it was easy for me to say, well, there's no way I can compete. There's no way I should even consider doing this because those people are athletes. And what I finally realized is I need to be more like this guy. I don't know if you can read what's on the back of his T-shirt, but it says 50, fat, diabetic, ahead of you. And so finally I decided, and maybe it was the fact that, in 2009 when I started dropping weight, that was the year that I was taking, that I was turning 40. And I finally decided, it's got to be now. And so I did it. So now I'm learning and still learning to tell myself new stories. So one of them is I can trust my body. And as a woman, I think maybe some of you guys understand that that can be a really hard thing to do. There's lots of messages in our culture and our families and stuff like that that don't support this idea. But I saw that I could trust my body to take me places, to do things, and to bring me new experiences. And so this is 2010, the same race that a year later. And I'm down, and I ran a much faster time. I think I peeled off 15 minutes of my time. One of my new stories is also that I am strong. When I was in Bozeman, I had goats, and we had a little mini farm. And doing that really empowered me. And I always thought that I wasn't strong enough, smart enough, whatever. But I see this photo, and it helps me remember, yes, I am strong. There are things that my body can do that are amazing. Another new story I have for myself is I can do this. This is us on the Hiawatha Trail in Idaho, and we took all 3 boys. We've done this twice now, and it's an old railroad bridge, but not like a rail-to-trail that you would find in the Midwest where it's on flat land. This goes through the mountains and winds around. It's got big, tall trestle bridges and tunnels, and it's just a lot of fun. And it's, again, not one of those things growing up that I ever would have imagined that I would do. Another story is I can try new things. Took this shot from a kayak in the river that runs right outside my back door, and I didn't really think that I would ever get into boating and stuff. Oh, that's dangerous, and I don't know how to paddle. And I know a lot of people who are river guides who are really skilled with boats, and I'm not. But you know what? I'm doing it anyway because that's a story that I can really believe in. Another new story is I'm not a wimp. This is me and my husband coming up from the river, yay verily, 2 weeks ago. You can see the snow on the ground. That's not sand. That's not some funky sort of flowered soil. That's snow. In January, he and I stripped down and we jumped in the river and came back out, and you know what? It was fun, and it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, trust me. Like I said, I'm the girl who likes a quilt and a hot tea and a book by the fire, and I still pulled this off, and I'm not psychologically damaged in any way. It was fun. So I didn't get to this point just by sucking it up and being brave or whatever. From the very time that I started trying to get back in shape in 2009, or I shouldn't say back in shape, I should say in shape for the first time, I didn't want to make it a part-time job. I saw a lot of people in Bozeman and a lot of advice on, everywhere in the fitness world that, you start small, but then your whole point is you do a 5K, and then you do a 10K, and then you do a half marathon, and then you do a marathon, and then you do a triathlon, and you just kept notching up and up. And your workouts should be 30 to 30 minutes, 3 times a week, and then if you can ramp it up to an hour a day, that's better. But the good news is that there's this whole body of life hackers, I guess I should call them, this whole group of life hackers. It's a whole movement where they're figuring out life is busy. They want shortcuts to everything, to success, to health, to wealth, lots of different things. And so one thing that they've hacked is exercise. And they've been putting out things that are saying, you can get a good workout in 10 to 20 minutes. And I kind of latched onto that, and I started listening. And so this really came into play this past winter, right around Thanksgiving. I was feeling depressed. I couldn't motivate myself to do anything. I was inside a lot. I was on the computer a lot. and I could feel myself kind of slipping away. And I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And what got me back was not, again, sucking it up and soldiering on and disciplining myself. But I decided, you know what, I don't feel great, but I can do a plank for 30 seconds or a minute. And so I found small exercises that I could literally do, and I'm not kidding here, for 15 to 60 seconds, whatever I could do. And after I finished that one, I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Let me try another one. And then I did that one. Oh, let me do another one. And I did that one. And then those just kind of built, and I saw that it was possible. I saw myself doing things. And then I said, oh, well, maybe I could go for a walk for 5 minutes. Maybe I could get up and do the dishes. Maybe I could, fill in the blank. It pulled me ahead and pulled me forward. And so I'm calling them pajama workouts, but if that grosses you out, no problem. Call them something else. Like maybe you want to call them commercial workouts. Like, when you're watching TV and there's a commercial, you can pull off a couple of these during commercials. Or maybe you want to call them coffee maker workouts, or I make tea, so I have tea kettle workouts. While the water's heating, I can pull off 1 or 2 of these, and then it just kind of pumps me up. I can feel my energy flowing, and I can move ahead. So no special equipment needed, no weights, no little gadgets, no technology. It's just you and your body, and most of the time, it's even really low to the floor. So no swinging your arms, no jumping jacks, no big motions. A lot of times, it's very low-key. And so you don't need any special training. You don't need a personal trainer or a coach to teach you how to do this. But the real magic in them is it's a really quick bypass or shortcut to feeling the strength of your own body. Even if you're only doing these for 15 or 20 seconds, you can feel the energy moving through your body, and that is, it's so powerful and so fulfilling. And so, yes, momentum bitch slaps willpower, and momentum brings power. So here are some. Now, I'm showing you a few of these just so you get the idea. There are dozens of these kind of workouts out there, and I've got a couple links at the end. If I don't know what your injuries are, or what your preferences are, or what abuse you've had over the years from malicious PE teachers or something like that who made you drop and do 50 because you were too slow, or I don't know, whatever. So if any of these exercises makes you twitch, then bypass it and find something else. The reason I have a plank up here is because it's a full body exercise. It's so powerful. When I'm feeling kind of down or stuck, this is one of the things that I just walk over and pull out. I don't need to move. I just need to hold still. But if you've got shoulder and wrist problems, it may not be for you. But it's a whole body exercise, and it gets your tush, your legs are engaged, your core. If this is too much for you, you can bend your knees and just like do a half one, and it's awesome. You can also do these on the side, and they're fun. This is one of my absolute favorite too. Like if I'm sick or not feeling well or just totally drained, I lay on the floor. I mean, how much better does it get than this? You're laying on the floor and just lifting your ass up. That's it. Woohoo! And while it's easy to say, like, oh, gee, that's not enough, that's really lazy, I'm reading more and more in the literature that personal trainers are recommending this because they are seeing that people are sitting too much, and so their glutes, their butts are getting flat. We're not really engaging our glutes, and their hip flexors, which, right in here, are getting tight because we're in the seated position so much. And so they are actually recommending this as a warm-up for a lot of people so that they can engage their glutes and then stretch your hip flexors out, which just helps other exercises as well. This is another good one. Again, we're low to the floor. We're not running around. This can be a balance challenge because you're doing one arm and then the opposite leg, and if that doesn't work, if that's too much, then just do leg raises. Put both arms down and do one leg, and then, for, I don't know, however many reps you want. If it's 3 that you can manage, awesome. If it's 10, if it's 20, awesome, whatever works for you. Again, the point of this is not more, but it's getting you to feel the power of your own body. Lunges are also another really good one. No equipment, simple, and you can get into a deep lunge if that works for you, or you can just do a simple lunge, just kind of stretch things out. Again, this isn't about it should look better, it should be more. This is just what can you do to build some momentum and feel good. And then usually what happens with me, whee, the hula hoop, is after I do a couple of these, then I can grab my hula hoop and I can sit there and hula hoop for 10 minutes. This is awesome for like if I just need to read like a little magazine article or something like that. I'll just sit there and hula hoop because it feels fun, it feels silly, it doesn't feel like serious and boot camp sort of thing. And I can also do it when I'm watching a movie with my family, and actually I do that sometimes, like 5 or 10 minutes while we're watching the movie, not the whole movie. I'll do a few of these exercises and then I'll do the hula hoop and then I'm ready to settle in. And if you need more ideas, you can Google simple body weight exercises. There is a ton of stuff on YouTube that you can check out. There's an awesome 20 exercise slideshow on Livestrong about body weight exercises, and those are a lot of ideas about different things to do, and you can just do a couple of them. You can put 3 or 4 of them together and do a circuit if you want like a 10 or 15-minute thing. But whatever, keep it simple, have fun with it. There's a woman called Marianne who she has a lot of kettlebell exercises, and that's something I've gotten into. You don't have to, but she has some good beginner exercises, and anyway, Shelby, those links will be on the slides. I think that Shelby is sending you tomorrow. The whole point here is you need to find what resonates with you. This isn't about should, it's not about must, it's not about force, it's about connecting with yourself. So what I would recommend if you want to move forward with this sort of thing, what I would recommend for you is coming up with, I don't know, 2, 3 60-second exercises, 2 or 3 of these pajama workouts, just as something that you can do when you need a quick break, you need a quick boost, and you need to feel like if you're noticing resistance with exercise, you can just drop and do some of these and then be like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm good to go. And then I would also see if you can come up with 2 or 3 5-minute exercises that you can do, and whether that's going out and walking for a few minutes, whether you like, I don't know if you like jumping ropes. See, I don't know what you like doing. I don't know if you like putting on the music and dancing around the living room with your kids or just anything like that. But because once you do these pajama workouts, you're going to naturally want to step into something more. It's like, oh, that felt good. Can I have more? Oh, that felt good, and I can have more. And the same thing with the 10-minute exercises. Come up, see what you can do, what you can come up with that's very easy, 5 or 10-minute exercises, so that when your body, that switch happens, your body is craving more, you can go for it. And you can just go, oh, that's right, and I know, and I'm going to do this, rather than standing around and going, well, I feel really good. I don't know, what could I do? My husband and I have done this with bike rides. We have a number of loops timed out around our house. We have like a 15-minute loop, we have a half-hour loop, we have a 45-minute loop. So if we've got some free time, we can be like, oh, yeah, let's just go do this a minute. And then it's done. You don't have to think through and then delay, and then the exercise doesn't happen, and then you feeling good gets delayed. Make sure all of this stuff is easy. This is my chubby pooch. This is on a hike that we did, you know, like walking the dog. And this is me in my really heavy bomber bike. I'm in flip-flops here, you can see. I'm in a skirt. I don't have a helmet on because I'm just doing loops in my neighborhood. Easy. This is no big deal. This is just fun, and it still counts as exercise. So thanks so much for coming. That's what I have for you today. I hope it was helpful and useful. I hope it gives you some stuff to go off of to kind of help you along to feel like you feel better about exercise. If you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to take them.
Okay, everyone, so use that questions area on your screen to type in your questions for Sherilyn now. And Sherilyn, we've had a few questions come in, so we'll just start with the ones that are in there, and then we'll wait for the other ones to roll in. Okay. This wasn't actually a question, but it was a good comment. One of our audience members is in Seattle, and she said that she loved the idea of swapping pounds for minutes in the sunshine, particularly in Seattle. You need to get out in the sun if it's shining.
Oh, sugar. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. Yeah, yeah. Could we swap sunshine for somewhere else? Right. Yeah, I get that. We had 3 days of sunshine in a row here in Kalispell, and my boys, it was hilarious. They looked out the window and they went, oh, Mom, blue sky, even before they knew it was out of their mouth. And then they kind of looked at each other like, boy, that was stupid. But I'm totally with you.
Sometimes I'd like to update that bullet on your slide for swap Montana for Arizona in February.
Especially, yes.
Does that count? I don't know if that's on the subject matter, but so here's a question. How do you personally shake off the blahs, on days where you're like, I'm just not feeling it?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I know that there are a few times a year. I struggle with depression. I'll start out by saying that. And I have since I was probably in 6th grade, I think. It was probably earlier than that. I tend to be a little more melancholy. Like I said, I was shy. And so this is the way that I've found to do it because, I mean, you guys know all the stats about how exercise is so good for you on so many levels. And it's like, the reason I developed this whole fitness wisdom connection series was because I was seeing that the logic is failing us. We're getting heavier, we're getting fatter. It's more people are on antidepressants than ever. And I was in one of these spots. I was in a total funk like October, November. And this is how I pulled out of it, was with these micro workouts, these pajama workouts, is one is doing these simple workouts and getting some momentum going. Instead of getting in that downward spiral where you're like, I'm no good, I can't do anything, it's so hard, it's so whatever. If you see yourself doing something physical, it helps, and then you move on to another thing and another thing. Another one is making sure that you're connecting with people. And maybe, you can combine the two. It's like you call a friend, and so maybe a bike ride, or like especially if it's a winter, maybe a bike ride doesn't work or it feels like too much. Could you go for a walk with me? Could you meet? But as far as from an exercise perspective, these micro workouts have saved my ass a number of times. I mean, saved my mental state.
Literally saved your arse.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, it's because before you know, you're off and running, and you don't have to get in that spiral of, oh, I suck, I'm so terrible, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? And you don't get into a fear spiral, you get into a power spiral instead. But without the whole, like, boot camp, I got to do something for 30 minutes, I got to get in the heart rate zone, no, that's okay. You really don't have to go there.
When you asked the question, what stories do we tell ourselves, I typed that into the chat and sent that out to the audience and asked them to type in some of the things that they tell themselves, and one of them was, I don't have time. Because we beat ourselves up that, well, I don't have an hour and a half to really get in a good workout. So I love your micro or your pajama workouts for that.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, and that was my deal. I have 3 boys, and I was homeschooling them for years, and so I didn't have time. My husband had a really demanding job. We don't have family around, so it's not like I could just call a mother-in-law or an aunt or something like that and say, hey, can you take the kids for a half hour? And so that's where these came out of, is I have like a grab bag of like 5 to 10 to 20-minute exercises that I can do when I have those little pockets of time, and then I walk out feeling so much better about life. Oh my gosh. And it doesn't take long. You don't need to do the doctor recommended, hour and a half, blah, blah, blah. So anyway.
Here's another good question. How important was it for you to have your family participate in what you love, and what would be some suggestions, for single people or people that don't have the family support system?
So having your family involved, I posted something on my Bike Bliss Facebook page about this today. We went for a 6K ski yesterday with my 3 boys who are 8, 12, and 14. And it was part exhilaration and part, oh my God, pain in the ass, because it was a long ski for them, and we didn't quite realize how long it was going to be, and so they're whining a lot. And so there is some of that. It's not like it's all happiness and joy. You know, that photo I showed you when we biked the Hiawatha Trail, we had a fantastic time on the trail, and then we got off the trail at the end, and we're biking down to this one spot, and had like a 3-person crash, I mean, just in our family, and my husband and one of my sons were scraped up and stuff. And so it's not all bliss and roses and happiness. But what you do is, just like with the pajama workouts, is you start really small. We're all going to do this together. And you talk about it a little bit. I probably over-communicate with my boys. But I say, you know what, I'm noticing we're all sluggish. We're in, you know, they're either on the computer or on TV too much. I'm like, okay, you guys have screen head. Let's get out and let's just shift the energy a little. And again, it doesn't have to be a production. Find either a trail or a nice little walk around the neighborhood that you guys just become standard. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Find these 5 to 10 minute breaks, these momentum makers, where you can go out and, you know what, we're just doing 5 minutes. We're just doing 10 minutes. You're going to be fine. It's great. Let's just do that. And I notice a big change in them once they start realizing, oh, yeah, we were stuck, we were sluggish, and now we're all coming along together, and this is working better. I don't know, did that answer the question for whoever asked, like, how do you get family to do this together?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's great that you kept saying it doesn't have to be a big production, because another one of the comments that was typed in about what stories do we tell ourselves was the story of, it has to be a big production to exercise. So,
and I think that's one of the more damaging things. Like you know, the whole go big or get out. A lot of people, you know, experts recommend, and people I deeply respect, recommend things like, you know, oh, plan some big adventure, and then you'll push your boundaries and you'll see what's possible. You know, I kind of put that in childbirth category, and what I mean by that is, I've had 3 children. I've had 3 totally different births. And, you know, they say you forget about childbirth, and I don't believe that. I totally don't believe that. I remember. It's not like I remember every second, but it was so outside of my normal experience that I picked it up and I set it to the side. I didn't integrate it. And when you do something huge, it can be really easy not to believe that you did it, not to integrate it into who you are on a daily basis. And with these micro workouts, you get to integrate it, and you get to see yourself very regularly. Oh, I'm a person who does these things. Oh, I'm a person who does these things. And it just keeps reinforcing that sort of concept of yourself.
So here's another question about your pajama workouts. Do you have a certain number of pajama workouts that you try to do each day, or are you flexible with your schedule?
Totally flexible. And what I found is, kind of works really nicely, is to set up some, you know, like it all depends. Like, this is this whole thing. Don't make it a big deal. Don't turn it into a dogma or a must or a should. Don't do it. Follow your curiosity, I think, is the best way that I can say to do this, because what I do is like right now with a workout I'm doing, it's like 4 or 5 of them in a row of these micro workouts. And I'm doing that for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then what will happen is I'll get bored, and I'm like, okay, well, what else sounds interesting? And I'll go look on YouTube, and I'll watch some other people, and I'm like, oh, that looks fun. Let me see if I can do that, or let me see if that works for me. So, and there's some, like in that 20, it's on livestrong.com, that 20 body weight exercises. I flip through some of those, and I'm like, there's no fucking way you're going to get me to do 20 push-ups. I'm sorry. That does not appeal to me. Or pull-ups. Other people adore them. Awesome. Great. I don't know your preferences. So I would just say link together, find 2 or 3 that appeal to you, and link them together, and that way it'll just wear a groove in your brain like, oh, I need a break. Okay, let me do these. And then you can do reps of them. Like, you can do I should say circuit. So like, you could do a plank for a minute. You could do a bridge, that one that I told you that I just love, that's good for the butt and the hip flexors. You do that for a minute, and then you do one more for a minute, lunges for a minute, and then see how you feel. Are you still feeling powerful? Awesome. Are you feeling like, oh my God, I'm tanking? Then stop and decide, okay, I'm going to just go for a walk now. Or if you're feeling great, what often happens with me is I'm like, oh, sure, I could do one more. And so then I'll do another circuit. But keep it small, keep it manageable.
Definitely. Good. So this last question is more of a comment, but I think it's definitely something that you can relate to and that you can speak to. So I'll share that comment with you, and then let's have you tell us about session 2. So first, the comment. The comment here is, my body thinks it's the same athlete as it was in my 30s. 10 years of kids, but 10 years of kids and work mean that I'm not where I was in strength and endurance. I weigh the same, but I haven't even risked experiencing the true difference. I'm feeling trapped by the size of the change.
Read the last part to me again, please.
I'm feeling trapped by the size of the change.
Yeah, and that's where the human body is miraculous, and I know that sounds cliche and trite, but when you do these sort of circuits and you do these micro workouts and intervals, which I'll end up talking about in session 2, it is absolutely astounding how quickly the body adapts and remembers. So this person who is an athlete in their 30s or whatever, this part of the reason I came up with this concept, or I'm just sharing it, it's not my concept, so to speak, of micro workouts, is it lets you come back, because so many athletes, like my husband was like this, oh my gosh, because he was this runner and did big things, and then he got injured too. He had kind of blown his knees, and then what do? You're used to doing marathons or triathlons or something like that, and you can barely run, a 5K now. And so these micro workouts give you the momentum, keep going, and what I'm doing is handing you a permission slip that says you don't have to be that athlete anymore. That's not the should or the must. You're putting a should or your must on yourself about, I should be doing it. It should feel like this again. It should feel better. Now, all the compassion in the world for that gap. I mean, I completely understand what that's like to feel like, but I was so good and look where I am now. So just set aside that should and that must. And if you're doing the small workouts, again, way is going to lead on to way. If you're listening to your body, you'll do more of what feels good. And before you know it, you'll be doing stuff that really feels good again. I'm not saying you're going to be playing NCAA soccer or something like that. But you can reclaim the connection with your body and the trust that you had in your body to do beautiful things again.
So it reminds me, a friend of mine said, just start to start. And so I like that. Be gentle and just start to start. So Sherilyn, let's have you tell us what's coming up next in session 2.
Okay, so for some of you, this is all that you need, is just this, someone giving you the permission to drop some of the usual chatter that we hear about exercise, about what it should look like and how it should be, and that you should, make a huge goal and you should stick to it and all this stuff. And then you're going to be off and running, and that's great. But for others of you, you may want to come into session 2, and I'm just going to say right up front that we are charging for it. And the reason that we are is that we're going to be digging in a lot deeper to kind of some of the issues, the bigger issues that need healing, that need reclaiming, that need reconnecting when it comes to exercise. Because, I haven't talked a whole lot about the usual scare tactics that they tell you with exercise. All the stuff that you hear from physicians about diabetes and cholesterol and all that kind of stuff. Because it's not working. I mean, if the scare techniques were working, we'd all be thin and we would have all, we wouldn't have a healthcare crisis. So what we're going to be doing is going into listening to other things, and that other thing mainly is your wisdom. You haven't gotten to be the age that you are right now without knowing a few things about your body. And I feel like, especially with women, there's been so much talk about what you should be able to do, what you should look like, how you need to act so you either attract or don't attract men, you know, all these different things that we hear. And so we're going to, again, get around all of that usual chatter, and we're going to get into knowing what you really know about yourself. And the kind of stuff that I'm talking about here is like, for myself, I've known for years that grains like that wheat and stuff like that are not doing good things to my body. There's a history of diabetes in my family, and I need to be backing off that. And helping you see some of those issues. Now maybe that isn't your issue, but you have another issue. Like you feel really good when you do vegan, or you know what, maybe when you go vegan you don't feel so good. But we're going to be tapping into some of those things so we can tune out the voices that are saying should and must to you and just really hone in on you. We're going to be talking more about this switch that happens internally when you start looking forward to exercise and workouts, and it's amazing when it happened. It totally blew my mind with me when it happened. And then we're going to be writing your exercise operating manual. We're going to be starting it. And what that is I also call it the Book of You. It's a book, and this is not anything big, heavy, or serious. That's just not my style. But it is important. It's a book that you can go to where you write down, gee, I had this reaction to this, or I didn't like this. And it's a book that you can go back to when you're feeling low, when you're feeling confused, and you can flip back and go, oh, that's why I'm feeling lousy. That's right. Whenever I eat pizza at this one restaurant, it totally upsets my stomach. Or like with my Book of You, I have to remember things like, I use it to help me remember things like when I have house guests coming, I love having them, but especially when I was homeschooling and I was home all day with the boys, I would start feeling resentful because they would come on the weekends and then I would have to cook for everybody. And I was locked in the kitchen all the time and I could get really edgy and resentful. Oh, well what I needed was before people came, I needed a break. I needed a day to go out and play and not have to take care of anybody. And then I was much more pleasant with my house guests. So we're going to be doing a Book of You, but it's mostly going to be about things like, you know, what you like to eat, what works well for your body, what kind of exercise works well, all those kinds of things. And then for people who sign up for session 2, we're also going to be having a private Facebook page because that is a place where we can go and you can get encouragement. I'll be on there frequently. You know, there will probably be times where we'll be able to chat with me live. We'll be able to give each other encouragement and ideas about like, hey, has anybody found a good workout for this or a good recipe for this? And then you can get 4 people chiming in. And we can all support each other. And then for all of you, not just the session 2 people, but if you would like a handwritten note from me, this is something that I love doing, just email me at bikeblisschick.com. And I will send me your address, and I will send you a note. This is not a ploy to collect your private information at all. So you can give me your business address, you can give me your burly cousin Vinny's address, whatever, I don't care. But it's not some sort of backhanded thing, because I feel like we all need tangible signs of encouragement from other people. It's one thing to have someone say, that was awesome, that was great. It's another thing to have, you know, someone see that someone took the time and said, hey, nice job. And so that session 2 and session 3 are going to be $25 each. And so Shelby will be able to give you the link to the page where you can sign up with that. $25 isn't nothing, but it's also a hell of a lot cheaper than a personal trainer or a private coach. And I feel like the attention that you'll be getting and the resource that you'll be building is going to last you a lifetime. Because with the Book of You, it's not whatever you write down in there, it's not like, okay, it's going to be this way for the rest of my life. You can go back and change it. Like, this was working for me, and now it's not. And that kind of stuff goes into the Book of You, or your operating manual, whatever you want to call it.
Great, Sherilyn. Thanks for that overview of session 2 and what's coming up next. So let's have you advance to the last slide so that everyone can see where to follow you and to keep up with you.
So yeah, I'm on, my blog is bikebliss.com, and that's my adventures with my children. And just, you know, I wrote a post about depression not long ago, different kind of musings on life and dealing with things like, you know, like depression and motivation and things like that. And then my Bike Bliss page on Facebook is right there too.
All right, everyone. We are over the top of the hour. Great, great information, Sherilyn. Big round of applause for you. Thanks for all of your time that you've put into this and sharing with us your personal experience, because that's what makes it real. This is your real story, and it's motivating to the rest of us. So thanks so much. And a big thanks to everybody that rode along with us today. Just a reminder, tomorrow you'll receive a link to the recorded webinar and a link to download all of these slides that Sherilyn prepared for us and went over today. So all of the links will be live in, so Sherilyn, we're seeing what's going on your screen.
Yeah, I see that. I'm going back. Sorry, it was one of those things where I was standing by the computer. It was just a reflex, and I was like, no!
No,
sorry, everyone. Guess
we
who's a professional here?
We were just about to see what was in your inbox. That could have been fascinating. and who knows what else we would have seen on Facebook and who you're chatting with. No, just kidding. But watch for that email, everyone, tomorrow, and you'll have everything that you need in that email to go ahead and register for session 2 and join us on February 5th. So also, when you log out, you'll be directed to take a quick survey. Please do take a moment to fill that out so that we can continue to improve these webinars and provide you with valuable information as we go along. So on behalf of Living Healthy Together, myself, Shelby, and our speaker, Sherilyn, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, everyone.